Rick
Molly
Wilson.
Jong-Fast.
It's all happening today.
You
All
know, it
happening.
really is. It's always happening. And we're about to give Alaska back to Russia or something this weekend,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you never can
Yeah.
tell.
So let's just talk about this a second. So basically, Steve Witkoff's translator translated something wrong, and
Right.
now we're giving Alaska
I
to
mean, folks,
Putin.
just so y'all know, we're joking about giving Alaska back, but it's not out of the question.
It's unlikely, but
It's
it's not
unlikely. It's
impossible.
unlikely, but it's just but it's not but it's not the chance of it isn't 0.
So, real talk, Donald Trump said he would end the war in Ukraine on day 1. It
It's
is
working
now
out
day
great.
200 plus, plus, plus. The war in Ukraine seems no closer to ending. Vladimir Putin has completely won against Donald Trump every which way to Sunday.
Right. Look, I mean, one of
Yeah.
the things that's going on here is we have a guy who is one of the greatest war criminals of the 20th or the 21st century, certainly, who is right now being invited to American territory in
Yeah.
Alaska,
Getting
and
a
he's going to
face
be
to face.
treated with kid gloves by Donald Trump. And Trump's desperation to get a Nobel Prize, a Nobel Peace Prize, which I do have to just advise all of you Trumpers out there. Donald Trump could negotiate a peace treaty with the gray aliens, and it still ain't happening.
Yeah. Let me just say 2 things here. Joe Biden got a lot of shit. And that should be like, I feel like that should be like, that should be on a cake. Joe Biden got a
Joe
lot of
Biden,
shit
yes.
because he got a lot of shit, but he really got a lot of shit. And I think rightfully so for getting railroaded by both Netanyahu and Putin.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to watch Donald Trump get railroaded by both Netanyahu and Putin. Like, it is obvious that these 2 characters have now this is the 2nd US president that they are just basically completely just having their way with.
Well, look, I mean, let's be real here. W got rolled by Putin too when he said, "Oh, I looked in his eyes and I could see his
Right.
soul," or something. I'm like,
So,
if
yeah.
you saw anything in his eyes, it's a yawning chasm of pure evil, sport.
Right,
Um,
exactly.
this moment we're about to have in Alaska this week is so humiliating for the US. And the
Yeah.
Russians are trolling the shit out of him right now because they know how humiliating it is. They've always been telling their people, like, we're going to take Alaska back someday. What do you think? The symbolism of this is. Where do you think this idea to meet in Alaska came from? I will bet you 99 times out of 100 it came from Russia.
Let's talk about this. Trump getting rolled by Putin and also by Netanyahu. He said there was a famine. Netanyahu then called him up and yelled at him. Anyone who's had a Jewish mother knows exactly how this goes. Like, it's so funny because, I mean, I guess we're not supposed to say this, but as a Jew, I feel well within my rights. He said, "Oh my God, those children are starving," which is what everybody said when they
Sure.
saw those pictures of the starving children. And Netanyahu called him up and was like, "No, you didn't see starving children." And Trump was like, "Okay." I mean, he doesn't care, but it can't be said enough. Like, how this fucking thing is still going on is just, as we say in Judaism, a shanda.
Look, this base level of not being able in American politics to separate the people of Israel from Bibi Netanyahu, I think has broken a lot of people in this country politically for decades. Because Bibi Netanyahu, I hate to break it to y'all, he's a bad guy.
Yeah, he's just like Trump.
He's a bad guy.
Yeah.
He's doing a lot of things that Trump wants to do.
Would like to do, yeah.
He fired the attorney general of Israel. Why? Because Bibi Netanyahu is the target of a long-running and corruption probe that makes a lot of Trump's corruption look like the most sophisticated Byzantine plotting in the world. I mean,
But
Bibi's in the sort of
the good news for
briefcases of
Trump.
cash kind of corruption.
Right. The good news for the gold bars, right?
Right.
The good news for Trump is that he does not ever have to fire Pam Bondi, because there's no world in which Pam Bondi is doing anything that is independent of what he tells her to do.
Molly, that is 100% correct. No universe exists where Pam Bondi does not first ask for permission before she does anything.
Anything. So let's talk for a minute about a meeting that happened with JD Vance, Pam
Mhm.
Bondi,
Mhm.
who even knows who else, about the
Cash Dollar Patel.
Cash Patel, and in it, they were trying to help the American people help themselves by not making it so their boss had to worry about Jeff Epp anymore. So talk us through what you think happened
Yeah,
there.
these people got together. They were supposed to have a meeting at the Naval Observatory, the vice president's
Yes.
residence, which is
Yes.
very lovely, by the way. If you've never been there, it's very lovely.
And what vice president were you there with again? Remind me.
Oh, the Lord of Darkness, the Prince of
Yeah, I
Evil.
was gonna say not
But
sorry, I
long and the
mean,
short of it is that this meeting came to Trump's attention, and he flipped his shit because it was being held outside of his normal personal purview and his channels. He wants everything that happens regarding his good buddy Jeffrey Epstein to be within earshot of him, and this was gonna be out of his immediate eyesight. Now
why
look,
do you s
everybody at that meeting, with one exception, is an unquestioned loyalist to Donald Trump. But the one exception is a big exception, and that is there is still some suspicion about JD Vance inside Trump's brain and his world, just because he had the unforgivable sin in the past of opposing Trump.
JD
So,
Vance, raised the Ohio River Vance, JD
yes, JD Vance,
River
who,
Riser.
JD Vance is sort of a lateral version or vertical version of Moses. Instead of parting the river, he raised the river.
It feels very Marie Antoinette.
Oh, it feels so let them eat catfish. It is
Yeah,
so arrogant and weird, and look, this guy's been on vacation almost the entire time he's been vice president.
I would
I mean, he's
hope.
never off of vacation.
That's right, because remember, didn't they go where did they go? Where
They
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 went
went out to somewhere in the Rockies, they went out to
yeah,
California, they're in the Cotswolds right now.
yeah. Oh, good, I'm glad. I was hoping they'd have fun. You know, it is true between those guys and then you have Kristi Noem riding horses with remember
with
that?
with her boyfriend in Argentina. They do seem to
Yeah.
get a lot of vacations.
It's good. I'm just glad they're having fun.
Listen, I don't blame people for taking vacations. I'm taking one coming up at the end of this month,
Wait,
and
tell us more. Where are you going?
oh, we're going to the Cotswolds, actually, and to London. But I promise you, I will not raise or lower the levels of any rivers while I'm there.
Well,
Normal would be on the
n
taxpayer's dime.
no, and I mean, I do think it is worth remembering that these people really are using the presidency for and the office of the presidency and all of the things that are meant to be used to serve the American people to serve themselves.
The griftiness is now the point for a lot of
Yeah.
this. They're gonna milk this thing dry, Molly, until the last possible minute when they are dragged kicking and screaming out of the White House. And, they're gonna be dragged kicking and screaming because this is the best gig any of them has ever had or will ever
Or
have.
will ever have. So, speaking of which, Donald Trump knows he's gonna lose, right? He knows that these midterms are gonna be bad for him. He can see his polling, and so he's trying to get
Yeah,
Texas to make it so he won't lose this election. This is such an interesting thing because it really is, you have Abbott and Paxton
right,
who are in and Cornyn who are in a goal to become the biggest Trumpy sycophant.
right.
But the special session, as long as they stay out of the state until August 19th, which is my birthday, God help us all, I will be 26. As long as they stay out of the state, they can, I mean, they can just keep doing this, right?
Yeah, and look, I wanna make one thing clear, and I have talked to several Texas lawyers now and several national election lawyers now. Just so you folks know, there is no legal cause of action where they can send either the FBI
Right.
or the Texas Rangers or the Texas Bureau of Investigation or any of this other garbage or anybody to Illinois to seize and arrest these people on a civil warrant that has no
No.
basis in law or fact. And what it will be if they do this is kidnapping, which is a federal
Yeah.
crime, which I would
Yeah.
love to see Greg Abbott find a way out of a kidnapping charge.
Yeah.
Even this administration will reach a point, I believe.
So let's talk about this because if we go into a redistricting race, Democrats lose, all of us lose, right? Because it makes our democracy a joke. So, I mean, What do you think happens here? You think Texas gets the 5 seats?
Look, I don't think Texas gets the 5 seats. I think the Democrats there have figured out that they are playing by the rules. Forcing a quorum to break a quorum in Texas is legal. It is in the state
Right,
law and the state constitution.
right.
I think the Democrats are, I am a hard critic of their inability to walk and chew gum. I think the
Yes.
Democrats are actually winning this fight right now. I
Yeah,
also
I think
think
so
that
too.
Newsom has made a very careful play here, which is we're prepared to do this, but we're not going to do this unless Texas triggers this battle. And
Right, which is
I think
exactly the
that,
right way to
you know,
handle
that
it.
respects the fact that we all understand that doing this is stupid
Right, and it's
and
also the
wrong.
road to the end of American democracy, right? Because you can't have free elections, you're
It is a
breaking down the yeah,
greased slide on a hot day into cheating and invalidation of election results and legislative fuckery on election results, and there's no good that comes of this, Molly. If
right,
and then look, Texas, they can maximize these 5 seats. We've looked at some of the other states where they're in play. Ohio could maybe juice 1 seat out of theirs because they're losing
right,
population. Florida's already extremely redistricted for the Republicans,
right,
and they could maybe hypothetically kind of sort of squint and get another seat. Maybe.
right, right, right,
None of this is
right,
gonna be easy, and in Florida, there are 2 constitutional amendments, one for federal, one for state redistricting that and again, even the Florida Supreme Court, which is very conservative, is gonna look at those amendments and say, "No, you're breaking 5 and 6 Amendment 5 and Amendment 6. We're not gonna let you do this." There is a degree to which the latitude that Texas has is not present in the other big Republican states. Now, in California and New York and other states, if we end up in this death spiral, Democrats better play. If Abbott adds 5, then California adds 5. You know, we just cannot be in this box where we unilaterally disarm. It's like nuclear weapons, Molly. You know, nobody
right.
wants them, but we all have them, and so now we're kind of fucking stuck with them.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's true, and I
Deterrence.
think
The purpose of
deterrence,
nuclear weapons is
deterrence.
not to use
It's
nuclear
a
weapons.
weapons, it's to deter. We'll see how this plays, but there is a good case that Democrats are doing the right thing. I did talk a lot to the office of Governor Pritzker, all of his people,
Uh-huh.
and, they've been really careful because the way the money works, you don't want
Yep,
right? It's
yep.
very important, but this crew is particularly well funded,
Mhm.
and I think that they can, stay out for
Right,
until
and
August 19th for sure.
I think, Greg Abbott saying, "Oh, well, I can do it again and again and again and again." Can you though, chief? Because really, let's remember the excuse for this special session. The one they sent the request to the legislature was not about redistricting. It was about flood relief, which they've done a shit job on for the people of Texas. So I
Was the
think there's a
flooding.
political
Yeah.
lever that has been pulled. I don't know that he can pull it over and over and over and over and over again.
But I also think it's important to remember that this is a rapidly bluifying state. And the reason that Trump won was A, that he was good at telling people he would do things they wanted him to do.
Mhm.
And B was because there were a lot of white people who were scared about diversity, right? They were scared that they were going to lose power.
Sure.
And now we have a state like Texas, which is, it is rapidly becoming a purple state. Now, because they have such low voter engagement, they're not voting like a purple state, but they could, it's like, I mean, there's reason to assume that it can get there.
Texas is getting younger. It is getting browner. There are some areas of Texas that have been very paradoxical for the Democrats. You have a lot of
Right.
folks in the Rio Grande Valley who are very progressive on economic issues, but also extremely religious, and Republicans have made inroads with those. But like most of the Hispanic gains Donald Trump has made, there are some early indications now that in Texas, those gains he made with Hispanics have been given up.
I
Uh,
can't imagine why people don't wanna vote for the guy who's putting their cousin in a detention center and not letting him use the phone. I
Right.
can't
No,
imagine
it
why
is it
that's
is a
not
real
popular.
mystery. But
It's a mystery.
let's remember one thing about Texas. Donald Trump got 56.3% of the vote in Texas. That is the
Right.
lowest Republican percentage
That's
since
right.
Nixon.
Yeah.
So he's
And
not Texas has been a slow drip, and I know it frustrates our Democratic friends that they can't have it now. But Texas is a culturally conservative state outside of the metros. It is an economically conservative state in the role of oil and gas plays a disproportionate role in the funding of elections in that state. The reason
yeah,
that Greg Abbott
the way you're saying that, let me rephrase that for English. Very rich oil assholes give a lot of money to Republicans because
that is
yeehaw.
hey, listen, I was getting to that.
Yeah,
Um,
sorry, I
you
didn't
know,
wanna
little
I thought
Ken
you were
Paxton,
being too fancy.
the attorney general who has been impeached, who is a felon, who is a criminal.
But they gave money to every
He got a couple of
person
these
who
super rich
voted.
oil and gas guys to donate millions of dollars in the state Senate to the swing votes who so they wouldn't vote to impeach him.
Correct.
Texas is and look, folks, again,
It's extra legal.
I am
It's
from
extra
Florida, and
legal.
we know about corruption in Florida, okay? This is a state where we know of some corruption. Texas has lapped us and Louisiana, another state with some corruption, and seriously, it's like 5 or 6 guys that dominate the entire political scene in Texas because they write such massive checks. I had a guy who used to be in the oil and gas business, was a CEO of a big oil and gas company, say to me about a year ago, he goes, "There is no drill baby drill bullshit left. All the
Yeah.
easy fruit has been picked. These guys are
Oh,
living
that's
on a
very
dr these
sad.
guys are living in a dream world where they still have a couple $1 billion in the bank, but it takes one global downturn and it's gonna fuck them all." I'm like, "Please, Jesus, faster, please."
Tiniest violin in the
Yes,
world
itty bitty
playing
nano violin.
for playing for oil and gas guys who have wrecked the planet. There is no more oil and gas. Rick Wilson,
Molly
will you
Jong-Fast.
come back? Will
You
you
know
come
I
back?
will.